Hey, Yasmine, how are you?
I'm good. How are you,
I'm
Tracy?
doing great. It's so good to talk to you again. And we have some interesting information, as always, for home buyers and home sellers. Are you excited?
I'm very excited. I love these meetings.
Awesome. Well, I know that we wanted to go through first some of the questions that I always go after you on these calls, and we're going to start with home buyers. And the
Yes.
first question that I want to ask you is, you know, buyers, we hear the word pre-approval, pre-qualification. What steps do you take as a real estate agent to really empower buyers, understanding what their financial readiness is before they want to go out there and start shopping for a home?
That's a great question, and I love to answer it. So typically, I meet with the buyers sometimes before they have ever talked to a lender. Sometimes they've already talked to their local bank, or they were on the internet, and you know what's out there. I mean, everything is so vague. So I typically interview them a little bit, and I ask if they have a house to sell, or if they are first-time home buyers, if they have any savings, and depending on those answers, I can sometimes determine to say, okay, we have no savings and you just changed jobs. I
Mhm.
still want to introduce you to a lender and specifically to you, Tracy, but, let's work on it on the sidelines while I introduce you to Tracy, and then you can step by step get pre-approved for a loan. So,
Yeah, I mean, that's the best thing. And that's the advice I give the realtor partners I work with because you don't want to start getting into their private financial situation or, getting an idea of their income or their credits okay,
right.
because, you obviously want to make sure that they're a viable buyer as well. But that's always the best thing to do is refer them to a licensed mortgage loan officer like myself. I've been doing this for 27 years.
Yes.
And I always try to get as much information up front as possible from W-2s and pay stubs. If they're self-employed, we get tax returns and usually the most recent month of asset statements that they're going to use from, stocks, investments, 401k, restricted stock income, whatever it might be, just to ensure that before you get out there and start showing them homes, we
Exactly.
really have them qualified with automated underwriting all dialed in and everything. So that's good advice. I'm glad you're not
Yeah, and I typically don't take clients out before we know. Sometimes, especially the first-time home buyers, they come and say, "Oh, we saw a house we really liked," and then I speak with them and I find out, oh, they don't really have that stable of a financial environment, and I'm like, okay, I'll bring them back a little bit. And I
yeah.
think with my 25 years of experience, I do have a good understanding of what needs to be done prior to connecting them with you. I can be
Exactly.
helpful so they don't get frustrated. I hold their hand.
Mhm.
I tell them that I'll always be by their side throughout the
Mhm.
process.
That's the great thing about both of us is we never say no, right? We're always going to try to find a solution or figure out a path to homeownership if it doesn't work right away. So I love that. Okay, now for your sellers. Now it's competitive out there, right? There's all of
Yes.
these real estate agents in your market that are going after these home sellers. And what creative tactics do you have as a real estate agent, in the Bay Area that you employ in your job to really prepare and showcase a home and its best features? What are some things that you talk to your sellers about that make you stand out versus other agents?
So there are two steps, right? I go to the listing presentation, and during the listing presentation, I tell them in depth about what I bring to the table through a very detailed value proposition.
Okay.
So we go through every step of getting their home ready. I thrive on listening to what they want to need. I mean, there are many agents who come, and say the whole house needs to get redone.
Mhm.
We set you up, you spend a fortune, and then, yeah, we don't know what's going to happen. So the difference between me and other agents is not only my experience and knowing what's going on in the entire East Bay, but I have a wonderful group of contractors and designers and stagers, marketing to the masses, and photographers and digital marketing. So I bring this all together step by step, and I explain to them how it works. And through that proposition, I feel that I can bring a very wonderful and well-rounded approach to the sales process.
Absolutely. And I know real estate agents that will just meet with a seller and say, "Oh, I put your house on Facebook and I put your house here." And, and what you do such a good job of really is that digital marketing strategy that you've invested in and you've learned that you can set yourself apart and you can show their home online and on social media to thousands of people, right?
Yes, yes.
Are going to be more people that ever walk into an open house, more people that ever are going to see it on, we hate to say the Z word, but it's awesome, the things that you do for your
Yeah.
sellers, so I
And
love
yes,
that.
you're right. I mean, I have several marketing specialists. One is a digital marketing specialist, and then the other one does all my printed marketing or flyers and all of that. I have an in-house marketing department at the agency. So we really, really thrive on that. And with my digital marketing crew, they are constantly in front of people and they are constantly trying to get us the audience that we desire.
That's awesome, and the big question I always get, because you're done with your questions, you did a great job again. The
Thank you.
question I always get is, "What are rates doing today?"
Yes,
And so I wanted to just take a second and share my screen, and
I've been
hopefully
on pins and needles for an update since the election.
I honestly just wish it was better news, and I just wanna make sure, can you see my screen there?
Yes.
Okay. So, I want to like this is a US housing market weekly newsletter that I send, and I could easily share it. I know I share it with you. We could share it with your clients. We can share it with people that are seeing this. You just have to reach out to me. It's free. But what happens is this comes out every single Friday, and this was this past Friday because today actually the market's closed because it's Veterans Day. So I want to use the information from last Friday because people could be waiting to lock in their rates. And I wish I had some better news, but we had, the election that just ended, and then we had the Fed announcement. The
Yes. Is
Fed
there a
did,
way that you can enlarge the screen?
I might be able to, is it very small on your end?
Very small and we see the entire screen rather than just the document.
Okay, let me see. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna talk to it. So I'm
Yes.
gonna hit stop share. And
Okay.
then if someone wants to get it, then just because I don't
Absolutely.
want you kind of like like squinting and
Yes.
trying to read it. So, but we
Yes.
had the election and we had a Fed announcement. The Fed announced a reduction of 25 basis points in the federal funds rate. People think that that means rates went down a quarter percent. That does not mean that. Federal funds rate does reduces things like home equity lines of credit, credit cards, car loans, student loans. It doesn't directly impact mortgage rates, but what it does is it impacts the market overall, which then leads to an impact of rates, good or bad. And we didn't get really anything positive, unfortunately. The month of October, rates moved to a higher level steadily. I think it was because the anticipation of the election and of the Fed announcement. And
Yes.
really now what the concern is, because as of Friday night, we didn't know, it's the red sweep, right? So it's the full control by either political party, is going to coincide with higher interest rates. The control of the House still remains undetermined. So until that announcement comes out, the market's kind of sitting and waiting. And so that played a bit of a role in helping rates recover a little bit because they did spike after the election. Great example. I have, you deal in a luxury area, you deal high priced market. I have a client that is, approved for a jumbo loan. They're in contract, wanted to kind of ride out the election and see what rates were going to do. And we were there. I mean, I text them and I'm like, hey, we're at this good rate. This is lower than it's been. They wanted to ride it out. I woke up, this morning, I went back to Friday's rates because the market's closed and it adjusted late Friday. And it went up an eighth of a percent for the same cost. So, now we're in a situation where we're not going to lock, we're going to wait again, but you're playing this game of not knowing what's going to happen. I always suggest to clients, if the payment's there, if the rate is right and you can afford it, lock, because it's not a rate you need to keep forever, right? Eventually interest rates will go down. We don't know exactly when or how much. They're projecting second quarter of next year. And then when that happens, I think, if we can somehow get into the low sixes, high fives, which isn't COVID rates, but I think there'll be a lot more activity, and people looking to refinance, pull out their equity, get back into the purchase market. So, um, that's the answer is we still just don't know.
It is a
Unfortunately.
little disappointing, because I think a lot of buyers were, prepared that, interest rates in the third and fourth quarter will come down. And I think a lot of buyers have been on the fence, with pulling the trigger. And, even with our forecasts, it was like when people ask me, it's been third and fourth quarter is what we are hearing. And now we are hearing, maybe the second quarter of next year. So it kind
Mhm.
of pushes the buyers out again. And therefore,
Yeah,
us as realtors, we say, you're just renting the rate and you're buying your dream home. And
exactly.
when the rates are a little bit higher, there is less competition.
Mhm.
Yes, sometimes not as much inventory either,
Yeah, yeah,
because there are no bidding wars in that sense. But what I have noticed is that right now in the East Bay or in the Bay Area, when houses are priced right, or actually a little bit below what their neighbor's house maybe sold last
yep,
month, we do get multiple offers and they do have that momentum back. I mean,
yeah,
my every transaction that I have been in, we've had multiple offers. And, of course, with my listings and the full service that I provide, it's no surprise. But
yeah.
still, it's all about pricing and presentation, I think.
Absolutely. And that's the thing is especially, with jumbo loans, there aren't a lot of investors with that appetite. And so, for with Supreme Lending, we have like I think it's like 10 or 11 different jumbo investors that we work with. So I'm able to price it based on the scenario of someone, that's self-employed. I looked at a bank statement loan option. I looked at a 1-year tax return option, a P&L option. And the jumbo loan program, a 30-year fixed, when you're lending, $1.5 million to someone, I mean, rates aren't going to be 3% or 5%, right? You're still going to be getting, a higher than above average rate right now until they dip down a little bit. And fourth quarter and first quarter is always generally slow in our industry. That's the time that you kind of have the pick of the litter, right? If you're pre-approved and you find that house, because of the holidays, right? And
Yes.
then people January, February, tend to be out of the market. It's a great time to, to get out there as a buyer and even as a seller because there's less competition. So,
Absolutely. Yeah. I have one coming up. It was supposed to come up before Thanksgiving and they're redoing the entire house. And now we're looking at end of December, early January, and they're a little bit concerned. And I'm like, don't worry. There are
mhm,
so many buyers ready to buy in January and not as much inventory. So, you
yeah.
know, you snooze, you lose.
Well, we're gonna end it there. You snooze, you lose from Yasmine directly. And share with the audience again, Yasmine, the best way for people to get in touch with you if they want to learn more about buying or selling.
The best way to get in touch with me is via text or phone at 925-998-9747. Of course, through my website at eastbayrelocations.com. And yeah, I'm always here and
Awesome.
ready.
That's what I just tell people. Google me, Tracie Schmidt or the Schmidt team. Mortgage lender again that's licensed throughout all of California. And I love working with Yasmine and her client. She does such a great job. Cannot wait to see you next week for our next conversation.
Yes,
We'll talk to
that's
you
so
soon.
nice. Okay, bye bye.
Bye.